Hi there, this is Nicole here today with some perfect match stamps and dies cards featuring the Perfect Match collection from Spellbinders by Debi Adams. And these are stamps and dies that come in a set that work perfectly together. And I'm going to be sharing 3 of the designs here today in these cards. I've got a baby card, a card featuring some mushrooms, and then this baking style card. And they all have really cute, punny types of greetings with them, adorable images, and then they're a combination of stamps and dies. So there may not be stamps for all of the dies included, which I think is really fun to mix and match. Because I'm going to be creating cards from all 3 of these stamp sets that I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and stamp all my images at once. I am using New Arrival Flour Power, and the flour is Flour, so like the baking flour, and then the Getting All Mushy stamp set, which is the absolutely adorable mushrooms. And I'm stamping these on some smooth white cardstock using an ink for Copic coloring, and I'll be coloring these all in. I'm not going to share the coloring of everything here today. This card is more about building cards that all have a very similar design but feature completely different images and different greetings, and how easy it is to kind of create cards with this kind of style. In fact, many of the stamps and dies from the Perfect Match collection could be used in a very similar fashion, as well as maybe other stamps and dies you have at home. I'm using some Distress Oxide inks. I did die cut this oval using a Nestabilities pierced and scored oval die. This is from a fairly recent release from Spellbinders as well. And I'm inking this up with Broken China Distress Oxide ink. Because these were die cut from smooth white cardstock, which is typically a little harder to blend on, at least for me. I struggle with this. It's not as seamlessly and smooth as maybe a Bristol Smooth cardstock or a watercolor cardstock. Distress Oxide inks are more forgiving, and you're usually able to create a beautiful distress background. It may take a little extra work like you see here, but you can still achieve it. Now this first card is going to feature a completely Broken China background. Once I have this inked, I will spritz this with water from a distress sprayer just to add a little additional interest to this background. In fact, all 3 backgrounds will be spritzed with a distress sprayer, and you can see that Distress Oxide ink immediately reacts with that water to create a really fun background. Now I'm going to let that completely air dry. I am using my Spellbinders Self-Healing Mat. I could have grabbed Easy Clean Mat, excuse me, but I find that I can usually clean this up with a little bit of water and a paper towel. Now the clouds and stars from New Arrival were also die cut. I've die cut the clouds from smooth white cardstock and these stars from Lawn Fawn Sticky Note and Sunshine cardstock. And these are just really fun little dies, and you can see how great they match the whole design of the card. So I did die cut my images, and I'm going to color them. I usually kind of do it opposite, but I wanted to lay everything out and show you how it's all going to work together, especially since this card is not focused on the coloring so much as building a similar design with very different stamps. So this one, because I'm going to have like a little grassy border and I wanted a blue sky behind it, while it's the same exact design with that scored and pierced oval, this one is going to have some twisted citron along the bottom edge to kind of duplicate or go very much work with the blades of grass from the Getting All Mushy Perfect Match stamp and dies. And then of course the top is going to have that Broken China, and I'm just going to work those colors together so that they have a really pretty seamless transition, very light where those colors are going to meet. I purposely left it that way And then I just kind of covered up the bottom part with my hand, spritzed this with a little water. I did not want as much distressing down in the green portion, so I just covered that up. You could also use a piece of paper to do that easily. Again, just a little water, wipe up my self-healing mat real quickly. And then my final card, I chose to just do a very light version of the broken china background. A little Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink on these green blades of grass from Getting All Mushy. The grass color is Cilantro Lawn Fawn cardstock, but I wanted a little bit of a two-tone effect. Again, I very much kind of laid everything out, really wanting to make sure that what I had in my mind was going to work for the card. And I just love these mushrooms. I think they're fun. I think the mushroom punny type of greetings and sentiments are super fun as well. And this is going to be a really super sweet card once it's all done. So there is that last light blue background I was talking about. Just used a little bit lighter hand with my broken china ink, but again, I did distress it with water from the Distress Sprayer. Now, I did start coloring my images, pardon me again, I'm so sorry, you guys, with my Copic markers on camera. I did end up doing the rest of them off camera to save some time today. I will list the colors I used on my blog, so if you scroll below this video here on YouTube and click the show more, it will take you to a link to my blog post where I will list out what colors I used for the images. So in case you want to pick up those colors, maybe you're adding to your Copic color collection, or you just want to know what colors to use that you already have at home, and you want to know exactly what I'm using, they will be listed there. I love, for whatever reason, I think it's super fun coloring in storks and the little bag that they're carrying with the baby. I don't know why. I just think it's fun. I tend to go with warm grays here, as I usually do when coloring in an animal or a critter of some sort, and very, very light. I did a little dark for my shadowing, but everything else is warm gray 0, 0, and 1. That 5 was the darkest color I had there, and it still very much gives the illusion of a white type of image. Some peachy pinks for the bag it's carrying. It's another favorite color combination, especially when coloring in babies and storks. Again, I'm not sure why I'm drawn to that, and I have found over the years, as I have made cards and have been crafting, that I used to feel bad about kind of going to my go-to colors, and I do try to break out every once in a while and work outside my comfort zone, but I don't think it's a bad thing to know what you like and what makes you comfortable and makes you happy, and go back to that. So if you have color combinations you love, it makes the creating process very enjoyable, I think. And so this is a lot of my favorite colors here. So there is the baby. I've got some orange for the beak and the legs, and then we're going to go with cool grays. For clothing and accessories, I tend to stick to cool grays. For animals, critters, things like that, I stick to warm grays, but cool grays are just enough of a difference. You can really see the contrast or just the difference in those two gray color families. So let's go ahead and put the first card together. I'm going to put all 3 cards together the exact same way. So to save time today, I am not going to share putting all 3 cards together from start to finish. It's going to be the same. I did go ahead and take the frame that I die cut the oval from and the frame itself and put them in my mini Misty, plus I laid out the images. Now I went ahead and I have not adhered anything because I like to add my embossing powder before adhering any components to my card so that any stray embossing powder flakes do not stick to adhesive that might be on any of those things. I'm using the powder tool first to deactivate and hopefully keep my embossing powder right on just what I'm stamping, and I'm using an embossing ink to stamp up my greeting. I stamped it twice. I'm going to move everything out of the way then, grab my oval, grab my white embossing powder, and sprinkle that on. The white really pops and looks great against the darker blue inked background. I will say that for the Flower Power card, I used black ink. It is so light down near the bottom. The white embossing powder would get lost. And so it just shows you that you can use all kinds of different inks here. While the white looks great against the dark blue, it was a better choice to use a darker ink against the lighter blue. Against that green along the Getting All Mushy card, I went ahead and embossed that one as well. So now I'm putting a pretty generous amount of strong adhesive on my side fold card base, and starting with my frame first, I'm just going to pop that down in place. You could definitely forego this and maybe just use it as a guide if you wanted to and just want to use the oval on your card. You could definitely do that. And I'm going to inlay the oval into this frame, and then I can start adding the embellishments to build this sweet little scene. So the front of the card is going to say special delivery. A couple of the cards will feature additional greetings from these perfect match stamp and die collections. And I will show that at the end of the video. I'll show you the stamp set, the dies that go with, or the stamp and dies since they come together. I'll show you them for each card, and then I'll show you the finished card and if there's stamping on the inside. A little black gel pen for the eyes on the stork and the baby. I did use a little white pen detail on this one, and then I really kind of decided I didn't want to do that today, so none of the rest of the cards are going to have that. It was very, very little, kind of just a little highlight on the stork's cap. Now I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back of the stork. This is something that I didn't do on all the cards either, so if you want to, you can pop up these images. I liked that for this one. I didn't do it for the other two. They feature some smaller images that I thought it might be a little trickier to do some foam adhesive, and I just kind of was lazy, I guess, with my final two cards. But this one, I liked the little bit of dimension. So you could do this on any of the cards as well if you wanted to. The blades of grass for the Getting All Mushy card are going to be a little tricky, I think, to do foam adhesive unless you die cut them from some maybe cardstock that you've adhered to Fun Foam with some sort of stick-it adhesive or something similar. You could get some raised images, but I felt like it would be kind of tricky, so I just decided to adhere them directly to the background for that one. The clouds also added with foam adhesive to the New Arrival card. I inked up the edges of the stars with Wild Honey Distress ink. And then I'm going to attach these directly to my card. And I'm going to tuck some of them kind of back behind the clouds. We're just going to use 3 of them here. These were die cut from Lawn Fawn Sticky Note and Sunflower cardstock. Now, finishing details are always an important part of the card. So for this one, we're going to add some scattering of some iridescent star confetti. And then I'm going to take Nuvo Crystal Drops in White Blizzard, which is a translucent, sparkly Nuvo Crystal Drop, and make these stars sparkly. We're going to do the same thing for the hearts on the Getting All Mushy and Flower Power cards. And that is it. Simple as that. You have got a perfectly matched card. So let's take a look at all 3, and I'll show you the stamp sets that I used for each. Starting with the New Arrival. There are the greetings that come with it and the stork image. And then you've got a stork outline, the image, the clouds, and the stars. So everything you need to build a wonderful scene card. And there I stamped a little additional greeting inside. Next, we have the Flower Power card. Let me switch those around real quick. This comes with the canister of flour, lots of greetings, some faces, but then you get the rolling pin, the pie plate, the top of the pie, and a heart. So I have used all of those here, plus a heart from the Getting All Mushy stamp set. So I had a couple different sized hearts, and I customized the faces on the rolling pin and pie. Finally, we have Getting All Mushy. We've got the mushrooms and the heart, and then in addition we've got the blades of grass, which really helps build the scene perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me today for these 3 cards featuring the new Perfect Match stamps and dies from Spellbinders, part of Debi Adams' new collection and release. The supplies I used to create all 3 cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Spellbinders dies that you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for watching!